words said in the aftermath are just too confusing. Now I spend my days watching you throw stones at someone who's already dead. And if this is the way we all began, so how can I ask for any more?
Welcome to the stages of Minnesota. Enter freely and of your own free will. More than likely, this is the last episode of the stages of Minnesota during Monster Month. So, we are trying to get it out a little early. Hopefully, we succeeded with that. It's also appropriate that we lean heavily into the Twin Cities Horror Festival one more time. The Twin Cities Horror Festival runs through October 30th, so there's still time to get out and see the shows. We'll link in the show notes to the festival website so you can check out the schedule and purchase tickets. I also want to point to a few Monster Month appropriate shows happening around town. Lizzie, the rock musical, is not one of those because it has successfully sold out its entire run, including the extra week they added. But Theater in the Round has a show called Those Who Remain Turn the Pages, which they are presenting as a co-production with Fair School for the Arts. The show runs from November 1st to the 9th. It's a terrifying and timely triptych of tales featuring zombies, vampires, and monsters. Coming later in November, Park Square Theater in St. Paul has R.L. Stine's Goosebumps, Phantom of the Auditorium, a musical inspired by the popular Goosebumps book series. That runs from November 21st through December 14th as a bit of counter-holiday programming. We'll link to TRP and Park Square in the show notes, so you can read more about those shows and purchase tickets. Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make. They sound as if they're coming from the direction of the Crane Theater, home of the Twin Cities Horror Festival. Speaking of which, here are my reviews of more shows from the festival. Whether it moves me to cheers or tears, puts me to sleep, or gets me up on my feet. These are my Minnesota Honest reviews. Truthful, but not hurtful. We're deep into Monster Month, and the Twin Cities Horror Festival has sunk its teeth in for year 14. Here are my quick reviews for everything I've seen since we recorded the last episode. By the time this drops, I will have seen the final 2 shows, and you can read those reviews as well as my full reviews to all the shows I see at thestagesofmn.com. First up is The Walls by Strike Theater and the Improv Movement Project. It features a fantastic cast of local favorites: Mike Fotis, Rita Boersma, Sam Landman, Patty McCandless, and Jay Kistler. Many of them are masters of long-form improv. And while this isn't improv, it is written and directed by improv master Mike Fotis. But what makes this group great character actors is their ability to make the interplay between the characters feel real and genuine, a skill they have honed doing improv. The setup has a young woman at the urging of her meth-dealing father's partner trying to get money from the bank to ransom her father from a rival group of dealers. They go into the bank where the newly promoted manager and her husband, the recently retired sheriff, are opening up for the day. To be honest, everything in the bank is completely fascinating, even before things go south. Just listening to Boersma and Landman as the manager and her husband bicker is brilliant. Once things go off the rails, the play changes into something different, which includes some really interesting movement, which I don't want to spoil or explain the reason for. The sign of good character building is that even if things hadn't gone south, I think I would have really enjoyed the show. Just listening to these actors play these characters and interact with each other was time well spent. The artistic director of Twin Cities Horror Festival, Nissa Nordland's show Familiar, felt similar to her Minnesota Fringe show this year, in that we are in the world of a teenage girl and her adolescent obsessions. She is, or at least fancies herself, a witch, and her familiar is her cat Zelda. In my mind, I break the show into 3 parts. The first is getting to know the young teenage Rosemary. This is filled with humor, including the content creators she follows on TikTok, played by special guests Sam Landman as Virgil Vermillion and Jonathan Feld as Orion. The second part is more emotional. When her familiar, Zelda, who is 17 years of age, 1 year older than Rosemary, passes away, I know from listening to other audience members that those who had recently lost pets found this segment particularly devastating. So trigger warning for dead pets. The third section is completely unexpected, given the lightheartedness of the first portion and the emotional reality of the second. The third goes dark and supernatural in an effective and very creepy way. The show featured several musical performances by Nordland on ukulele and clarinet, which for me, ever since I first saw her sing on stage, is always a treat I look forward to. The Neverland, a horror fantasia, takes elements of the Peter Pan story and flies in a much darker direction with them. It has a ton of production design elements, much of it in the arts and crafts vein, but overall, it's very effective and appropriate for the story it's telling. It's impressive how they get this set up and taken down in the time allotted between shows. But there's a rather large cast, and I assume they all help out. Excellent costumes and even some shadow puppetry helps this show score big points in the production design category. The production design, however, seems to be compensating for lack of a solid script. While the performances are all solid, what they have to do is wander around the stage repeating the same things over and over again. One fellow audience member commented that it's a show of vibes, which I would agree with completely. As such, I think my son Alex, who really gets into films and plays that revolve around mood and vibes, might really enjoy the show more than I did. I'm generally looking for a story that holds my interest. This one, while the idea of Peter Pan guiding lost children from life through limbo to death certainly is filled with possibilities, the execution just felt meandering and repetitive. Bay Creek, written and performed by Derek Lee Miller, is essentially a one-person monologue. Miller's character is in an interrogation room, being questioned by members of the entire alphabet of law enforcement from the FBI to the DEA. We occasionally get recorded voiceovers from those agents asking questions, but for the most part, it's Miller on his own. The script is in places inspired by stories Miller was told by his family growing up. The story Miller's character unfolds about his family is one of demonic protection. Miller is never less than completely hypnotizing. The script, like Miller himself, doesn't have an ounce of fat on it. It's super tight. While the production design is extremely simple, a man sitting in a chair next to a table with a microphone and folders on it. The lighting and sound cues are not elaborate, but are among the most effective I've ever seen. The final moment of the show is truly awesome. To be sure, this is one of the best of this year's Twin Cities Horror Festival, thanks to Miller's powerful storytelling through script and performance. Murder, 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 Murder is by this year's One Traveling Artist Company of the Twin Cities Horror Festival. Murder, 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 Murder has a double meaning in its title. First, there are 4 stories, which is why there are 4 murders in the title. Secondly, all of the stories contain crows, and as we all know, a group of crows is called a murder of crows. And if you didn't know that, you're welcome. This is another story that had a pretty tight script, while set design was fairly minimal, but always enough to set the scene. It does have some very good costume work as well. The first stories use a framing device of a radio DJ we hear before and after each story. And then the fourth story features the DJ and her producer. Some of the stories are comic, some dark, and some darkly comic. It was a nice mix, and I think each story was the perfect length. Nothing felt rushed, but likewise, nothing felt like it was padded or had overstayed its welcome. Okay, let's see if I can get through this without tripping over the title a billion times. Gospel Gus's Godly Good Time Get-Together is hands down the most elaborate, large-scale production design I've ever seen at a Twin Cities Horror Festival show. The show is created and directed by Kyle B. Decker and written by Sam L. Landman. Yes, that's Sam Landman, making this the third show in this year's festival that he is involved in. It's reminiscent of the 2023 festival when I think Allison Vincent was in every other show. Damn, that was a good year. And so is this. Gospel Gus's Godly Good Time Get-Together is filled with satirical elements, and it gives its cast something to work with. The script is inspired by a bit from Decker's Minnesota Fringe show, He-Man is the Devil and Other Satanic Panic Tales, from the 2022 festival. It's so elaborate, it's not just the gigantic puppets, the crazy set pieces, and the wild puppetry effects. It's also a multimedia extravaganza. There's video portions that interact with what's happening on stage. There's projections. There's a fun use of blacklight technology. It also relies on the tried and true cell phone flashlight in the eyes of the audience. It basically uses the techniques we might see in any Twin Cities Horror Festival production, but uses every one of them in the same show and in service of the script. I really like the cast, particularly Natavia Lewis, who plays Nina, and Angela Fox, who plays Izzy. And giving a completely unhinged performance is Andrew Erskine Wheeler. All I can say is I hope that the fluorescent liquid he ingests is not toxic. If you're a fan of Twin Cities Horror Festival, you owe it to yourself to check out Gospel Gus's Godly Good Time Get-Together. I'm not going to say it's the best, but it is very good, and it is undoubtedly the largest spectacle you'll see at the festival.
Do I really have to go? Hard pressed to find a reason to brave the cold. So warm inside your cabin, give me just another moment. Wrapped inside the blanket of your body, the blanket of your body. Time to hit the open road. Loving arms await me, their domain knows me alone. Never a single question, 35 years full of holiday cheer, and still no invitation for my +1.
It has been another great year for the Twin Cities Horror Festival, but time is running out, so don't forget to go to the festival website. Check the schedule and book tickets to the ones you want to catch before they fade into the fog, which seems to be getting rather thick now. Okay, that hasn't happened before, right? Interested in sponsoring an episode of the Stages of Minnesota? Or being a part of the upcoming sponsored holiday preview episode? You can reach out to me via email at robdunkelberger@thestagesofmn.com. I have concerns about what's... Okay. Have comments, questions, suggestions, concerns for my safety? Feel free to email me as well. We're always accepting new members in the Stages of Minnesota +1 Club. Just send me an email with your name and mobile number. When I have a +1 ticket available, I'll text the +1 Club members, and if you can make it, text me back directly. Do not reply to the group text. The first person to reply gets to see a show for free with me. Speaking of free shows, we are still running our History of Theater ticket giveaway. This is really distracting and unsettling. Okay, sorry. We're still running our History Theater ticket giveaway through Erica Scarlett of Lettered in Theater and the History Theater. If you're interested, just email me at robdunkelberger@thestagesofmn.com with History Theater ticket giveaway in the subject line. We'll leave this contest open through November 2nd. On November 3rd, I'll draw one name at random from those tickets. Either Erica or myself will be in touch that next week to help you arrange your tickets to the History Theater. Thanks to Erica and History Theater for allowing us to share their wonderful new season with all of you. We'll link to the History Theater in the show notes. Did you see that? You can read my full reviews of all my shows I see at thestagesofmn.com. Remember, if you see me out at a show, assuming I survive this, don't be shy, say hi. Let's get a photo together, rejoice in being alive, and put you on the stages of Minnesota. Thanks as always to Ryan Lee for the generous use of his music. Every spooky sound of music used on the stages of Minnesota comes from his albums, which you can find at ryanlee.bandcamp.com. Whether you're watching the YouTube edition or listening to the podcast version, I want to ask, have you checked the children? If you found yourself on the edge of your seat during this episode, share the thrill with your friends and neighbors, living or dead. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and review the show. Okay, I gotta go before whatever that is gets in. So until next week, as Carol Jackson exclaimed after reanimating a creature she fashioned in her basement, go see a show! A show!
'Cause it's all over but the shouting. Every soul needs light. But mine's been wasting away in the afternoon shade, out of sight. And I am not the pure and perfect one, but my branches are still bent toward